The emergency klaxon screamed through the corridors of the GSS Harmony, a diplomatic vessel carrying representatives from 17 different species across the Galactic Coalition. Ambassador Velthar of the Exindari clutched his communication tablet with 3 of his 4 manipulator appendages, his bioluminescent patches flickering in distress patterns that hadn't been seen since the Krell Wars. Lockdown protocol initiated, the ship's AI announced in the flat, emotionless tone that somehow made everything worse. Biological contamination detected. Deck 7, Section 12. Velthar's breathing spiracles constricted. Deck 7. That was where the human delegation had their quarters. How many casualties? He managed to ask, his translator struggling to keep up with his panic-shortened clicks. 1 crew member exposed, medical team dispatched. Survival probability 4%. 4%. Velthar felt his secondary heart stutter. In all his cycles serving the Coalition, he'd never heard such a grim prognosis. The medics aboard the Harmony were the finest in the galaxy, equipped to handle toxins, radiation, exotic pathogens. The ship's chief medical officer, a Thelian named Rix's Pol, appeared on the view screen. His normally silver skin had taken on a sickly green hue. Ambassador, we have a code vermilion situation. One of the Polix maintenance workers has been stung by a Terran arthropod. A what? An insect. The humans call it a mosquito. Rix Pol's translator seemed to struggle with the word. The toxin analysis is beyond anything in our database. Anticoagulants, vasodilators, proteins designed to suppress immune response. It's a biological weapon of terrifying complexity. Velthar's mind reeled. The humans had brought a weapon aboard. Impossible. The security scans. Is it contained? He demanded. We're attempting to locate it now. But Ambassador, Rix Pol paused, and Velthar had known the doctor long enough to recognize when he was delivering death sentences. We need to wake the human delegation. We need to know if there's an antidote, because we have less than 6 hours before Technician Plixotin's circulatory system completely fails. Within an hour, the news had spread across the Coalition's faster-than-light communication network like wildfire through dry tinder. On the Yasandari homeworld, the Planetary Defense Council convened an emergency session. High Chancellor Moravec addressed the assembled leaders with barely contained horror. My fellow council members, his words echoed through the crystalline chamber, we have received confirmation from the GSS Harmony. A human biological agent has critically wounded a Coalition citizen. Preliminary analysis suggests a toxin cocktail more sophisticated than anything the Krell ever deployed. In the observer's gallery, diplomatically armed Kevrin whispered to his aide. I told them accepting the humans into the Coalition was premature. We knew they came from a Deathworld. We knew their planet's biosphere was a nightmare of predation and poison. But did anyone listen? The aide, young and naive, still believed in the Coalition's founding principles. But sir, the humans passed every evaluation. They demonstrated peaceful intent, technological sophistication. And now one of their insects is killing a polyx with a toxin our best scientists can't even categorize. Across the galaxy, similar conversations erupt. The Thalian science directors issued a formal warning about Earth's biosphere. The Zorakian hive mind published a detailed analysis of the Mosquito incident, concluding that any species capable of evolving alongside such horrors must possess fundamentally different tolerances for danger. Captain Threntok of the Coalition Security Forces received orders to prepare a quarantine fleet, just in case. Meanwhile, aboard the Harmony, Velthar stood outside the human quarters, steeling himself for what might be a very difficult conversation. The door opened, and he found himself face to face with Ambassador Daniel Wright, the human delegation's leader. Daniel was tall by human standards, nearly 2 meters, with graying hair at his temples and the kind of weathered face that suggested a life spent outdoors under harsh UV radiation. He wore soft sleeping garments, having clearly been roused from rest. Ambassador Velthar, Daniel said, his voice rough with sleep. What's wrong? We have a situation, Velthar began. trying to keep his bioluminescence neutral. One of our crew has been attacked by something from your quarters. Daniel's expression shifted immediately to concern. Attacked? What do you mean? A small flying creature. Our medical team says it injected a complex toxin. The victim has hours to live unless we can find a treatment. Velthar paused. The creature is called a mosquito. The change in Daniel's expression was instantaneous and completely unexpected. The concern vanished, replaced by something Velthar's translator interpreted as confused disbelief. I'm sorry, Daniel said slowly. Did you say mosquito? Yes. Is there an antidote? Daniel blinked, then blinked again. Ambassador Velthar, are you telling me that one of your crew was bitten by a mosquito and you think they're dying? Our medical analysis indicates where is he. Take me to your medical bay. Right now. The scene in the medical bay would have been comical if not for the genuine terror etched on every non-human face present. Technician Plixon, a pollux barely a meter tall, with soft purple fur, lay on a medical bed surrounded by enough monitoring equipment to service a small hospital. His breathing was labored, his large eyes dilated with fear. Chief Medical Officer Rixon Powell stood nearby, manipulating holographic displays showing toxin breakdowns, cellular damage projections, and increasingly dire probability curves. Daniel entered, took one look at the situation, and did something no one expected. He laughed. It wasn't a cruel laugh or a mocking one. It was the kind of laugh that escapes when someone realizes they've been preparing for a nuclear war, when all along it was just fireworks. But to the assembled alien medical staff, it was like watching someone giggle at a funeral. Ambassador Wright, Rixon Powell said stiffly, I fail to see the humor in this situation. I'm sorry, Daniel said, composing himself with visible effort. He approached Plixon's bed, his expression shifting to something gentler. Hey there, buddy. You're going to be just fine. The toxin analysis Rixpol began is accurate, I'm sure. Daniel interrupted. Mosquito saliva contains anticoagulants, proteins, vasodilators, all designed to make blood flow easier while they feed. On Earth, mosquitoes have killed more humans than any other animal in history. The medical staff exchanged horrified looks, but Daniel continued. Not from the bite itself. From diseases they sometimes carry. Malaria, dengue, yellow fever. The bite itself. He rolled up his sleeve, revealing several small red bumps on his forearm. See these? All mosquito bites. From the same mosquito, probably. Got them last night before I went to sleep. Rixon Powell stared at the marks. You're not receiving treatment for mosquito bites. No. Daniel turned to his security officer, Lieutenant Commander Vincent Torres, who had followed him to the medical bay. Vince, you got any antihistamine cream in your kit? Vincent, a stocky man with dark skin and a no-nonsense demeanor, was already pulling out a small tube from a medical pouch. Never leave Earth without it, boss. Right, Dr. Rixpol, with your permission, I'd like to apply this to Technician Plixon's sting site. It's a mild antihistamine, blocks histamine receptors, reduces inflammation and itching. You want to treat what you call instant death with itch cream. Velthar had entered the medical bay, his bioluminescence flickering in shades that suggested his worldview was actively crumbling. It's not instant death, Daniel said patiently. It's a mosquito bite. Yes, the anticoagulants in mosquito saliva are real. Yes, they serve a function. But on Earth, literally billions of people get bitten by mosquitoes every year. Most of us don't even notice. He looked at the medical readouts. I think what's happening here is that Plixon's biology is having an allergic reaction to proteins his immune system has never encountered. His symptoms look similar to what we'd call anaphylaxis in humans. Do you have antihistamines in your medical database? Rixpol worked his console. Yes. We use similar compounds for treating allergic responses to environmental contaminants. Start there. Mild dose. His body mass is much smaller than a human's. And someone please find that mosquito before it bites anyone else. 20 minutes later, Plixton's vital signs had stabilized. The antihistamine, carefully calibrated for his biology, had stopped the allergic cascade. He was still covered in monitoring equipment, but his breathing had eased, and his eyes had regained their natural focus. Daniel sat in the medical bay's consultation room with Velthar, Rixil, and Captain Drenix, the ship's Zorkian commander. The Mosquito, located, captured, and now contained in a stasis field, floated in the center of the table like an accused prisoner. "I owe you an explanation," Daniel said, "and an apology. We had no idea a Mosquito had gotten aboard. Our quarters underwent complete sterilization protocols." "Clearly insufficient protocols," Captain Drenix buzzed, his compound eyes fixed on the tiny insect. "Mosquitoes are persistent," Vincent offered. "Back on Earth, we've been trying to eliminate them for centuries. They adapt, they hide, they lay eggs in the smallest amount of standing water. There's probably some condensation somewhere in our quarters' ventilation system." Daniel nodded. "What you need to understand is that this," he gestured at the Mosquito, "isn't a weapon. It's not even particularly dangerous by Earth standards. Yes, mosquitoes can carry diseases that have killed hundreds of millions of humans throughout our history. But the bite itself, we'd rate it as a minor annoyance." "A minor annoyance," Velthar repeated slowly, "that nearly killed Technician Plixton, because his biology had never encountered it," Daniel explained. "It's like, imagine you'd never been exposed to alcohol, never developed any tolerance. A single glass of wine might hit you like a bottle of pure ethanol would hit a human." Rixipol's skin had returned to its normal silver shade. "Ambassador Wright, I've been reviewing the biological survey data from Earth. The Mosquito is classified as one of the least dangerous animals on your world." "That's correct. Your world also contains creatures called box jellyfish with venom that can stop a human heart in minutes. Sydney funnel web spiders with neurotox saltwater crocodiles that can bite with a force exceeding 8,000 newtons. Cape buffaloes, hippopotamuses, bullet ants." He looked up from his display. "Why do you people name things after their method of killing you?" Vincent grinned. "We've got a poet's soul and a survivor's sense of humor. This is not a joke, Lieutenant Commander," Captain Drenix said sharply. "We are trying to understand how your species can possibly treat such dangers as normal." Daniel leaned back in his chair. "Because they are normal. For us, Earth isn't trying to kill us. It's just Earth. Yes, it's more hostile than most inhabited worlds we've encountered since joining the Coalition. But it's home. We evolved there. We adapted to it. Or it adapted you," Velthar said quietly. "Ambassador, do you understand what this incident represents? Within hours, every government in the Coalition will have reports about how a Terran biological agent nearly killed a crew member. There will be calls for restrictions, quarantines, possibly even revocation of Earth's membership." Daniel's expression hardened. "Over a mosquito bite. Over what it represents. Fear, Ambassador Wright. Fear of what else might be hiding in Earth's biosphere. Fear of what you humans might consider normal." 6 hours later, Daniel stood before an emergency session of the Coalition Council, broadcast across faster-than-light communication channels to every member world. Billions of beings watched as the human ambassador prepared to defend his species' place in galactic civilization. The council chamber was an architectural marvel, a spherical room where representatives occupied positions based on their species' environmental preferences. Some floated in zero-gravity sections, others sat in high-pressure chambers, a few basked under radiation lamps. At the center, a holographic platform allowed speakers to address the entire assembly. Daniel stood on that platform, very aware that he was being judged. "Honored council members," he began, "I stand before you to address the incident aboard the GSS Harmony. I will not minimize what happened. Technician Plixton suffered a severe allergic reaction to a mosquito bite and came dangerously close to death. This was a serious medical emergency, and I'm grateful to Chief Medical Officer Rixis Powell and his team for their quick response." He paused, making eye contact with as many council members as the rotating platform allowed. "But I also need to provide context. The mosquito that caused this incident is one of Earth's most common animals. There are more than 3,000 species of mosquitoes on our world. On any given summer evening in certain regions, a human might receive dozens of bites. Children play outside, covered in them. We've developed entire industries around repelling them. Chemical sprays, electronic devices, specially treated clothing. A council member from the Prill Collective, a species that resembled aquatic fungi, spoke up. "You're saying this is routine?" "Completely routine. When I was a child, I once counted 47 mosquito bites after a camping trip. My father's only comment was to remind me to use insect repellent next time." Stunned silence. But surely another council member interjected. "You must understand how this appears to us. Earth's Environmental Survey classifies your world as Class 9, extreme hazard. Only 3 other inhabited worlds reach that classification, and none have applied for coalition membership." "I understand your concern," Daniel said. "So let me explain why humans are what you call Deathworlders, and why that's not something to fear." He activated a holographic display showing Earth rotating in space. Earth has higher gravity than 63% of coalition worlds. Our atmospheric oxygen content is toxic to 17% of member species. Our sun's UV radiation requires most of you to wear protective equipment just to stand on our surface. Our weather systems generate storms with wind speeds exceeding 300 kilometers per hour. Our tectonic activity creates earthquakes and volcanoes. Our oceans contain thousands of venomous species. The display shifted, showing various Earth creatures. We share our world with apex predators that can run faster than our primitive ground vehicles, swim deeper than our early submarines, and fly higher than our first aircraft. We evolved not as the strongest or the fastest or the most venomous species, but as the most adaptable. Daniel's voice grew more intense. Every human child learns about dangerous animals. We teach our young to identify poisonous plants, to recognize warning signs of severe weather, understand that nature doesn't care about our survival. And yet we don't fear nature. We respect it. We live alongside it. We've learned to thrive on a world that, yes, is trying to kill us. Every single day, he deactivated the display and addressed the council directly. "You call us Deathworlders as if it's a warning. I understand that, but consider what it means. We're survivors. Every challenge Earth threw at us, extreme temperatures, dangerous fauna, deadly diseases, natural disasters, we adapted and overcame, not through superior firepower or technology, but through intelligence, cooperation, and sheer stubborn refusal to give up." Vincent, watching from the observers section, felt a surge of pride. His ambassador was finally letting the galaxy see what humanity really was. "We don't want to frighten you," Daniel continued. "We want to contribute to the coalition. Our medical researchers have developed treatments for thousands of venoms and toxins, knowledge we're eager to share. Our engineers have built structures that withstand earthquakes and hurricanes. Our biologists understand complex ecosystems precisely because ours is so complex." He smiled slightly. "Yes, a mosquito from Earth nearly killed technician Plixton, but a human doctor with itch cream saved his life. That's what we bring to the coalition, experience with adversity and the solutions we've developed to overcome it." The council deliberated for 3 days. During that time, Daniel and his team remained aboard the Harmony, confined to quarters that had been thoroughly dug up, literally. On the 3rd day, Vincent found Daniel standing in the observation deck staring out at the stars. "Penny for your thoughts, boss?" Vincent asked. "Just thinking about how strange this all is," Daniel replied. "We spent centuries dreaming about meeting aliens, wondering if we were alone in the universe, and now that we've found them, we're terrifying them with mosquitoes." Vincent chuckled. "Could be worse. Could have been a spider. Don't even boke about that. I saw the Council's report on Earth's arachnid population. Pretty sure half of them want to quarantine our entire solar system." The door opened, and Velthar entered, his bioluminescence patterns more controlled than they'd been in days. "Ambassador Wright, Lieutenant Commander Torres, the Council has reached a decision." Daniel turned, his expression carefully neutral. "And Earth's membership in the coalition will continue, with certain conditions." "Go on." First, all human vessels must maintain biological containment fields around crew quarters when docked at Coalition facilities. Second, any Earth biological samples must be cleared through enhanced security protocols. Third, Valthar's patches flickered in what Daniel had learned was the Sindari equivalent of a smile. You've been asked to lead a new Coalition initiative. What initiative? The Council has recognized that human expertise in dealing with hostile environments could benefit many member species. You're being asked to establish a training program, survival protocols for extreme environments. You'll teach other species how to handle the kinds of dangers you consider routine. Daniel exchanged a glance with Vincent, who was grinning openly. Additionally, Valthar continued, the Coalition Medical Institute has requested access to Earth's toxicology database. Apparently, your world's defensive biochemistry is more diverse than the rest of the galaxies combined. They believe treatments developed for Earth's venoms could revolutionize emergency medicine. We'd be happy to share, Daniel said. And finally, Valthar's bioluminescence shifted to a pattern Daniel hadn't seen before. I've been asked to apologize on behalf of the Council for our initial reaction. We panicked. We saw danger where we should have seen opportunity. We forgot that the Coalition was founded on the principle that diversity makes us stronger. He extended one manipulator appendage in the gesture humans had taught the Coalition as a handshake. Welcome to the galaxy, Deathworlders. We're going to need your help. Daniel clasped Valthar's appendage firmly. Happy to provide it, Ambassador. Later that evening, as the Harmony prepared to resume its journey, Daniel recorded a message to be sent back to Earth, to the Coalition Integration Office in Geneva. Mission log. Ambassador Daniel Wright. Stardate. Actually, I still don't know how they calculate stardates. Anyway, reporting on the Mosquito incident, he couldn't help but smile. Turns out the thing we should have been most worried about bringing to the stars wasn't our weapons, our politics, or our cultural baggage. It was a bug that weighs 2 milligrams. The good news is, we've been officially designated the galaxy's experts on surviving horrible things, which, honestly, feels about right. He sobered slightly. But here's the real lesson from all this. The galaxy is full of species who've never had to fight for survival the way we have. They've evolved on gentle worlds under kind suns, in ecosystems that achieved balance instead of constant competition. They look at us and see danger, but I think, given time, they'll see what I see, a species that's learned that survival isn't about being the strongest. It's about being the most resilient. He glanced at his arm, where the mosquito bites had faded to barely visible marks. Earth made us strong. Now it's our job to help the galaxy understand that strength doesn't have to be threatening. It can be protective. It can be shared. He ended the recording and headed to bed, already planning the curriculum for the Coalition's first Deathworlder survival training course. Outside the window, the stars wheeled by, countless worlds full of countless species, all learning to live together, and somewhere in human quarters, in a tiny amount of condensation in a ventilation shaft, a mosquito laid eggs, because mosquitoes, like humans, were survivors, and they were very, very good at it. 3 months later, the Coalition's first extreme environment survival course graduated its inaugural class. 47 students from 23 different species had spent 12 weeks learning what humans considered basic wilderness survival. They'd learned to identify dangerous weather patterns, treat allergic reactions, recognize predatory behavior, and most importantly, maintain calm in the face of unexpected threats. Lieutenant Commander Vincent Torres stood at the graduation ceremony, watching as Technician Plixton received a special commendation. The little Pollux had not only recovered completely from his mosquito bite, but had volunteered as a test subject for the new Coalition Allergen Response Protocol, a medical framework developed by combining human and Thalian medicine. Never thought I'd see the day, Vincent murmured to Ambassador Wright, who stood beside him. See what? Aliens learning from us instead of the other way around. Daniel smiled. We're all learning from each other, Vince. That's the point. As the ceremony concluded, Valthar approached with news. Ambassador, I thought you'd want to know. The Council just approved funding for 3 more Deathworlder integration programs. Hazardous materials handling, extreme weather response, and he paused, his bioluminescence flickering with what Daniel now recognized as amusement. Pest control. Pest control. Apparently, several coalition worlds have insect problems they've never been able to solve. They're hoping human expertise might help. Vincent laughed. We spent 10,000 years trying to get rid of mosquitoes and mostly failed. Not sure we're the experts they're looking for. But you survived alongside them, Vilthar pointed out. That's expertise enough. As the delegation dispersed, Daniel stood for a moment in the empty ceremonial hall, thinking about how far humanity had come. From a single planet fighting for survival against a hostile biosphere, to teachers helping gentler species understand what it meant to persevere. Earth hadn't made humanity perfect, it had made them resilient, and in a galaxy that was finally at peace after centuries of conflict, resilience might be the most valuable gift they could offer. If you enjoyed this HFY story about humanity's unexpected role in the galactic community, let me know. I'd love to hear which part was your favorite: the panic over a mosquito, the human overreaction, or the final revelation that our Deathworld experience is actually valuable. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts on what other normal Earth things might terrify aliens. And if you want more stories about humanity's unique perspective in the cosmos, hit that subscribe button. Until next time, stay resilient, Deathworlder.